All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to What Are Your Thoughts on Real Estate? I'm Cuong, and I guarantee the sale of your home, or I'll buy it. My guest today is Carl Pickett. So, Carl, can you let the listeners know a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I live up in Oromadonti. I've been in this area now, I guess, the Simcoe County for about 7 years. Cuong and I have had a long time relationship. Cuong's helped me sell 2 homes and buy 3. So we've gone back quite a few years, and so yeah.
Okay. So before we start, I want you to know that when I first met you, I noticed that your suit game was on point. And from that point on, well, just so you know, right, from that point on, I actually modeled that aspect of my game similar to you, right? In all honesty, you showed me that day of how we should carry ourselves with our clients, so I really appreciate that. But after all these years, right, my hair color is still holding up.
Well, as we just discussed earlier, one of the challenges I think that we're all facing right now, working from our home offices, is and obviously social distancing, is our lack of access to a haircut. You know, and I'm certainly suffering.
Yeah, me too.
My age is showing through the grays.
Don't worry, we're both younger men when we first met, but not so much now, buddy.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
So all kidding aside, we've always gotten along right from the beginning, so I'm happy you're here today.
Thank you for having me, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, no problem. So, but we're going to talk about some real estate first, then we'll move on with what's going on right now, okay? So what do you think about the real estate market? You know, how do you see it going right now?
Well, you know, it's an interesting thing because I've lived up here for quite some time now, and when I first came up about 7 years ago, you know, prices were reasonable. I thought at that time, living down in the Durham region, Ajax particularly, that the bubble was going to burst. I had changed jobs, so I got to work, the luxury of working from home, and I figured, well, why not cash out then and move up to these parts, pay less, and have less overhead. Little did we know that never ever did happen. The bubble continued to expand. So, you know. In Toronto, I mean, or in Ajax, where I formerly lived, the house that I had bought for quite a substantial amount less than, you know, $500,000 is now hovering around $1 million. So, you know, that kind of growth was explosive. And I think that it, in turn, you know, it's a situation where a rising tide floats all boats. So up here, we're seeing the same. We're not necessarily as impacted by the volatility of market fluctuations where we are located here. It's a situation where, you know, when things do collapse, it tends to be a little bit more of a softer landing. Right now, up until obviously the COVID crisis, we saw an enormous amount of activity in this region. Homes in my area, once on the market, typically we're there for all of maybe 2-3 weeks before you would see a sold sign on it. So, you know, the market was robust. I'm not in tune with it enough as, or per se as much as you would be, to really have a finger on the pulse to see where things are now. But my understanding is that the market is still thriving, and I think that once we get through this, depending on how the economy, you know, tends to, you know, manage, we should get right back into the swing of things. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Well, you know, I've always been trying to get you into investment properties, and you know, I'll always hunt for great deals for you, right?
Agreed.
But how do you think this will affect the investors in the short term?
Well, I think the investors in the short term right now, if they are already invested, they're obviously going to be feeling some pain, especially with the legislation coming in from many of the provinces and the federal government, where, you know, they're trying to reduce the right or the ability of landlords and etc. on charging rent. That obviously will cause great grief for many. I mean, it's just a reality. If you're a person that has you live in one property, or you've decided to where you've decided to stretch on another property, so you're invested quite heavily, and so, you know, you have to make those payments. That's hard on you. It could be a situation where maybe you have a basement apartment, or you bought a house with a finished basement, or you invested in having the house renovated so you could provide a basement apartment for that kind of capital to come into your your financial situation.
Right.
If you're carrying the burden of that right now with a very large mortgage, obviously you're going to suffer. But all things said and done, housing and the housing crisis here in Ontario, that's not going to go away anytime soon. I think that once we get back into the full swing of things and the COVID crisis does pass, and I think it will, it's just a matter of time, people are still going to need homes. Investment properties are obviously still a very good idea. Rents seem to do only one thing, and that's head in a trajectory that's upward.
Right.
So, you will fare well. It's just a matter of getting through this particular time, and it's going to be a bump for all of us.
Well, this is nothing. What you said was pretty interesting about Ontario, right? Because we know you're from. I know you're from BC. So the thing is, these prices are nothing, right? Especially you're from Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
This is nothing, right? The prices.
Well, but I have friends that still live there. Like, I'm still quite heavily connected with my friends that live in Vancouver, and I think that this is what they call first world problems, right? And and they too are feeling the exact same thing. Yes, obviously their market is a little bit more inflated than ours, but the parity isn't that much different these days. It's quite similar, especially with some of the legislation and whatnot that British Columbia has brought in with the foreign investors.
Yeah.
That seemed to really cool that market considerably.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily have such draconian measures taken here by our provincial government, so therefore, the market still seemed to thrive, whereas theirs did take quite a bit of a dip. But the problems are the same,
Yeah. So, what do you think is going to happen? Probably, in the future, moving forward afterwards, like in terms of growth. Like, what do you think it'll be like after this? Like, let's say like it's 6 months to a year. Okay, let's say a year from now, right? Because a lot of people think that it's going to be, that the market's going to keep on going down, right? What do you think? Is it going to keep on going down in a year, or will it be, another huge jump again? Will millionaires be made? That's what I'm asking you.
I think there will be millionaires made. Will it be in the housing market? I'm not quite sure. That's hard to say.
Right.
But it's one of those things where realistically, I don't want to be a harbinger of doom or a messenger of doom or whatnot. I don't. But as you know, Cuong, the industry that I'm in, I'm an insurance broker, and I specialize in trade credit, accounts receivable insurance. So I help businesses stay alive in these exact same kind of scenarios. That the catastrophic loss scenario. That's what we're here to do. So like, I'm heavily involved. And that's definitely a way that things have changed now. Prior to COVID, I would be out networking. I would be spending most of my days meeting with people, etc. Now I'm at home, so I'm spending a lot of time on webinars and most of it all having to do with the economy. So the thing that I think is the general consensus across the board, this is going to bring great pain. We're going to see a lot of businesses fail. I'm talking an enormous number of businesses that are failed. I would say that there was so many cash-strapped businesses to begin with before COVID occurred, that within the next 60 days, the bankruptcy rates will be astronomical, which means that there's going to be people out of jobs that won't be able to pay their bills and etc.
Yeah.
And then going forward, the real concern as well will be the insurance carriers themselves. When you look at how much the insurance carriers will have to pay out in claims over the next 24 months, whether it be accounts receivable insurance, whether it be medical insurance, you got to think about that, travel insurance, life insurance with COVID, the claims will be astronomical. And as a result, insurance premiums will go up considerably. And when that happens, some businesses won't even be able to afford their commercial insurance. Some people will have a tough time carrying their home insurance. So we're in for a long, bumpy ride. And once again, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but this is not going to get this is not going to be an easy fix, and it's not going to be one that's going to happen quickly. So It's hard to say. It really is. But I think that those people who are able to stay the course, take advantage of some of the payment deferments that the banks are offering and whatnot, even though I know it's been revealed that banks will come out of that making more money in the end because of the interest. It realistically doesn't matter when it's going to allow you to keep your home. That's the most important thing. And if people are able to do that and hang on to weather this storm, they'll still be in a good position. You can't go wrong with the housing market. It's only been a boom. Even when it does go down, it may be harsh for some people, because of the fact their homes are worth less than what they bought them for, but that creates opportunity for others to jump in and buy at that time. That's an ideal time to get in the market. So, maybe the market as a whole requires a little bit of a retooling or a reset, but some will prevail and others won't. Simple as that.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, you really are the harbinger of death. You just ruined a bunch of listeners' day, buddy. Way to go. Congratulations.
I just ruined Christmas.
Oh my God.
I just ruined Christmas.
I'm not the harbinger of distress. No, you were definitely the harbinger of death. You just killed days today, buddy. Way to go. My God.
Well, I hope that doesn't hurt you in any way,
Oh, no, it doesn't. But Jesus Christ. I felt like drinking water, maybe drowning myself on that one. My God. So you're talking about it's all right. You know what? I need perspective, and this is the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I want other people's thoughts on real estate, not mine, right? Because like I said, too often as realtors, we talk at people. So normally we talk at you and tell you what we think it is, right? But sometimes we need to know your perspective too. And it's great that you're sharing this with people because no one's, because of all the deaths or all the people contracting COVID-19, everyone's forgetting about what is going to happen life after, right? And I'm glad that you're shining some light on this. I think it's very important. So, you're talking about people, price possibly dropping, right? Are you ever coming back to the city?
Not anytime in the near future. If the COVID crisis taught me one thing, this is the best place to be.
I told you, right? If there's ever a zombie apocalypse, there's going to be a half Vietnamese, half Chinese guy showing up at your doorstep. You know this, right?
Yes, I do. And I can tell you right now, if you come up on a Friday, in the summertime, it'll be your fastest trip you've ever taken.
Oh yeah, for sure. To be honest,
400 is empty.
To be honest, I love coming up to see you because my personal story started in Aurelia, right? Where it's really close to you. So I always associate with my first home in Canada. So I thank you and all my clients for the support because we work together, so I get to donate to St. Paul's Church in Aurelia, and it's because of you guys that I'm able to help out that church. So, Aurelia's always had a soft spot in my heart, right? So, buddy, back to your work, Can you hear me?
I can, yep, you're there.
No problem.
You're there.
I'm just making sure here. So, basically,
that's another one of those issues with living up here, you bad bandwidth.
Get used to it, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, what adjustments have you made for your business for your business with the way things are right now in this world?
Well, primarily, obviously, I'm big on service. So, my clients, one of the reasons why I have such great retention with my clients is the quality of service that I provide, which means that I'm out in front of them as much as they require. So, insurance is a complicated product. Mine probably even more so. It is literally the backbone that manages to keep financing lines open and available for companies. A great deal of business owners actually use the AR insurance product to backstop their bank lines. So, if you don't have a buyer that's insured, then obviously the banks won't advance funds against that. So if you do have the buyer insured, then the bank will lend you up to 90% against it. I think those requirements are only going to get more stringent as we go on. So, being in this type of business, I typically tend to be in front of my clients a lot, because any kind of issues they have with their banks, any kind of issues they have with their buyers, their receivables, they are contacting me and asking me for help to try to find solutions. We've had to amend that greatly. I mean, we're working from home now. I'm still available. I'm doing a lot more of these Zoom calls and etc., which is all new to me, i.e. my background, right?
Yeah.
So that's just basically it. It's email traffic, telephone traffic. I mean, it is an adjustment because I miss my clients, and not being able to get out in front of them. It's frustrating. But once again, it's just one of those measures that you have to utilize to get through this. So
Yeah, we're definitely both old school guys that way. We like being in front of the client.
yeah, and just like the other thing too is like I love to shake a hand.
Yeah.
And the fact that COVID has taken it away from us, like
Right.
that greeting is something that's always been very important to me, like looking somebody in the eyes and a good stiff handshake, right? Firm handshake.
Right. God,
Can't do that anymore.
we sound like dinosaurs. The way it is.
I know.
Well, you're even earlier, right? You were talking about, like, I mean, okay, you're talking about like the regulations. That's going to definitely change, right? And it's going to be stringent for sure, because the banks, they're gonna, like, I mean, their buffer is,
they're gonna take a beating.
Yeah, the buffer is gonna be much smaller now, right? Like there cannot be any missteps after that.
I agree, and like, fortunately though, I must say, I gotta say, the Canadian the Canadian government has really been stepping up to the plate. They've been doing a lot to support not just business owners, but Canadians as a whole. But they're also there, and they're doing a great deal to help support the banks. Like, look, we're in a window in time that historically we're going to look back on in like wonder. It is that profound. And so all those all that profit that banks record quarter after quarter, year after year, who's to say that's going to exist at the end of all of this? Going back to my doom and gloom, but
Or the harbinger of death. You know what? I'm just gonna, if I ever have you on again, which I probably will, I am putting a big sign, harbinger of death. Welcome to harbinger of death, Carl Pickett. I'm just letting you know that, buddy.
Webinar School 101.
Conspiracy theories aside and all that stuff, I think after all this stuff, I think our counterparts our neighbors in the States, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a war coming up right after this, because this is starting to remind me a lot of the Great Depression, right? You remember that story, right? Because this is North America is gonna take such a beating on this one. Like, I mean, I can't just economically, this is truly what we call economic Darwinism, right? There's only be a few left, the strong ones left after all this.
That's right.
You were saying,
and you know what? The thing is you have to understand, like, once again, referring back to my business, which I think the gravity of all of this has yet to sink in. There were businesses, and I'm talking like the big ones, right? That were considered fortresses of industry, and so therefore considered infallible.
Right.
That no longer exists. That term is a thing of the past. There is no company too big to fail now. I mean, what we will see in the next 6 to 24 months will be absolutely profound.
I agree with you.
Whether it be airline companies, whether it be cruise companies, whether it be automotive companies, whether it would be hardware stores. Like, you wouldn't believe it. The businesses that will be under duress as a result of this crisis is absolutely astronomical. Right. And there is no company too big to fail. And I think that's something we're gonna see happening. And you're right. I mean, I do believe, though, here in Canada, we're a little bit better off, believe it or not, always being a resource run economy such as we have been, maybe to our benefit when it all when we all come through this, because people are always going to need food. People are always going to need agricultural goods. People are always going to need fish. People are always going to need forestry products. People are always going to need minerals. It's just the way it works. But in the United States, things are going to change dramatically, and there's no doubt about it. There's going to be a reset switch that's going to be tripped there, whether
This is the reset already, buddy. But
yeah,
it's hard after.
whether they want it or not, it's a reset button, right?
Yeah.
Hard reset.
Yeah, well,
Blue screen of death.
Jesus, the harbinger of death speaks again. So the job losses you were saying earlier, right? I mean, this is like, and let's touch back to what you said about no company's big enough, right, to survive this. Like, don't worry, we're big enough, we'll survive. So the job losses, you're expecting some craziness, aren't you?
Well, we've already seen it. It's not, do I expect it? The job losses have already happened.
I mean,
we're talking like 6 million, 6 million people that are applying for EI, the equivalent of the United States, last week. I mean, like,
yeah, that's crazy.
It's enormous. So, like, it's not a matter of the fact of whether the job loss, because everybody's looking at it. Well, they're unemployed. They're unemployed, right? They've been laid off. But the reality is will there be companies for them to go back to?
Right.
Will there be jobs for them to go back to when this is all said and done? Right. I mean, that's going to be the and unless we have some sort of thing that comes in where you're going to have a massive government spending plan. But then again, with what after this, what they've spent to get us through this, what's going to be left in the kitty to stimulate the economy when it's all said and done? But I mean, you're going to need projects equivalent to that happened after the Depression, like the Hoover Dam. Like that's the kind of caliber of leadership that's going to have to take place, and initiatives to get the country back, or both nations, back on their feet and running again. Perhaps, who knows?
See, that's why I took the role of you, the harbinger of death there. That's why I threw in the word war after this, because how else is there going to be job creation, right? Like it's crazy. Like I don't even know what to say. You're 100% right. The layoffs, people should not be taking these layoffs as, oh yeah, don't worry, they'll take us back. You're right. There might be nothing to go back to. And I cannot stress this enough. And it's actually funny because you touched on a very interesting subject about EI applications for unemployment insurance, right? Yes, they're honoring this stuff, but here's something that people don't really think about for EI, or unemployment insurance. Our economy is not built for this many applicants at the same time.
No, but but like I say, right now, I understand where you're coming from, but the reality is that nobody could have anticipated this. And,
well, absolutely not.
And the reality, the total reality is that what's happening right now is like we're all building the aircraft while we're in it, trying to fly it. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Right. We're building the aircraft while we're trying to fly it. That's what's happening. Yeah. And so, like, these are part of the struggles that will happen. I mean, but the government is trying to work it out, and I have faith in them. I think that once again, I mean, at the best of times, a government, whatever government it may be that's in power, can't make everybody happy all the time.
Right.
And that would be no different now, but they seem to be doing everything that they can to help support Canadians, and most importantly, Canadian businesses. There's a variety and number of programs that have been created to do so. My advice, though, if you are out there, if someone's listening and they do own a business right now, and you're worried about the future, if you haven't looked at credit insurance, and if you're selling on open terms, which means you have customers that are owing you balances right now, they're already in default. That's just a reality. So the credit insurers are insuring; they're still doing it. There's still appetite, but I will compare it to like Noah's Ark. All right. So like once the ark is full and it's set sail, no more shell board. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to insurance, it's exactly the same. So once the appetite for risk and the envelope for cover is completely full, there will be no more available. So if you're a business and you want to protect yourself, credit insurance is definitely a tool that you can use to get yourself through this whole ordeal. And I would start researching it now.
Right now.
Get on it now.
Thank you, Carl, for coming and letting our people know about that. What he's really telling is to hurry up, do it right now, because there will be nothing left. They won't even offer it. Basically, in a nutshell.
No.
No, they won't offer it.
Well, it will get to a point where honestly, I went through the 2008 crisis working for a credit
Oh
insurer.
yeah, oh yeah, that's a great. This is worse. This is a million times worse.
Oh, far worse. And we got to a point where literally, like, they were making offers you could refuse because they felt that to sell a policy at that time was basically paramount to selling a policy to buy a claim, right?
Yeah,
So right now, though, it's a little different, and the reason being is because the governments are behind this, and I think that well, all throughout Europe,
for now, they're behind.
Yes, but all throughout Europe, the credit, the federal, like the governments in France and etc., have stepped in and they've backstopped the insurance companies, saying that we will basically be your reinsurers. And I think that it hasn't happened as of yet. We haven't heard that come down the pipe so far, but it very well could happen here in Canada as well. But that said, don't wait for that to happen. Get in and try to get on cover now. Like basically. When have you ever heard of anyone selling you insurance for home insurance when the house is on fire, right? The embers have started. Like there is an ignition.
That's a great analogy. Seriously, like you're really being allowed to buy insurance as your house is burning down. That is, I mean, take that off, people. That is like, it doesn't happen, right? It's almost like getting robbed and saying, "Oh, can I still buy home insurance?" Yeah, sure, right? So that's like, I mean, it really is that crazy right now. So I'm glad you touched on that, because I don't think small businesses really understand what this means.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's taking the let's wait and see attitude, and the problem with the wait and see attitude is that
too late.
There comes a point in time where you could be the one standing outside looking in, wishing you were in with everybody else, and you just can't. The doors are closed. That's it, right?
Well, were you affected by the stock market and the mutual funds market?
No. Because personally, like I invest in real estate, Cuong.
That's the thing. Do you know how many people, like, even after all these disasters, right? It's always been these times that people have become very, very wealthy because they invested in real estate. Because no matter what, even if it doesn't matter how bad things get, unless we have like a scenario that it's like The Walking Dead or something like that, like, and there's still some form of economy. Guess what's going to happen? Whoever owns, even then, right? Whoever owns property, there's always going to be someone that's living in it, no matter what. That's just the way it is, right? It's not like you have anywhere to go to either, right? It's not like, well, I'm going to take off to America and get jobs, because they are just in it like us too. This is a big mess.
It is. And the other thing about it too is, I mean, as bad as things get, I don't believe that, we were in a position economically as a nation where, okay, even if the market does tank, that being the real estate market, it's not as if, so your house is worth less. It's not as if the feds are going to raise interest rates at the exact same time. Like they'll keep the interest rates low because they have to stimulate spending. So, as long as you can continue to pay your mortgage and hopefully pray that you still have a job, and we all hope that everybody out there is in that position, right? You'll still have a job and you can pay your mortgage. You just have to hang on. It's going to come back, right? And then for others who do have some cash that's liquid, right? Like, that will be the time to get out and buy. I mean, because you're going to buy low, and hopefully in a couple of years you can sell high again. It's just the way it works.
Or it's like the stock market, right? Because you bought low, boom, if it just bounces back to what it was, bang, you just made a bunch of money.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And how has this affected you and your family? Like, how's your mom?
Yeah, she's good. She's good. Obviously, that's the thing about this whole scenario is, I guess, we have the luxury of where we live, right? We are a little bit secluded. We've got quite a bit of land around us. We're not in a densely populated area.
Yeah.
So when this started to occur, and we started to get news, coming across from all the different networks and et cetera of this virus, I had to change my daily habits immediately, because my mom, she's elderly, she lives with me, and and she's also a like 3-4 time cancer survivor. She's been, and
Amazing,
she's
man. What
gone
a
through
strong
all.
woman.
So
Amazing.
absolutely. So she's very vulnerable to this. I mean, this is like a game ender, this virus for someone like her. So,
Yeah.
I started to change my lifestyle and my habits well in advance of it ever becoming the pandemic or having being announced as a pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, but it's difficult. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of worry and concern here, and and I have to be extra vigilant when I go out. But I think that we all should be doing that. That's the whole intention here. Plank the curve, social distancing. If
Right,
you
right.
listen to what the government is saying and the experts, and you stay home, hey, you bought the damn thing, stay in it. It's not that bad, like. Just
Yeah.
hang out and watch like TV, like Tiger King, whatever. I don't care. Like just stay there and
Okay, what's going on with
do
Tiger
your
King?
thing.
Everyone talks about Tiger King. My God, is it that great of a show?
I haven't watched it. No, I don't
Everyone's
watch that
talking
kind of
about it.
I hear you. I hear you. You're home watching Canto Pop.
Oh wow! You're supposed to think it was a Korean dramas, buddy. Come on.
What? Yeah, those are
You
good
missed
too. There you go.
you missed your opportunity. Forget that boat sailed. Listen, I really respect you.
But seriously, I think it's a situation where I think people have to stay home.
No, they have to. Do you hear about some of the people downtown Toronto? About the park? People were getting ticketed at the park. People were just hanging out, having barbecues because of the beautiful weather, right? That's all I could do was just hold my face. I'm like, my God. And they literally totally forgot everything within a week. And they're all hanging out in the park. What are you doing, guys? Come on. This is like I'm one of the guys that's not freaked out by this, but come on, you're just playing with fire, right? By doing that. Come on.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The unfortunate reality of, once again, it's a double-edged sword where I live, right? On one side of it, we live here from October to May in relative seclusion, but come May to September, October, when all of the cottagers come up, Toronto comes north.
Yeah.
So and this is not going to end anytime soon. So it's going to be interesting when the OPP are out on boats ticketing people because they're partying on pontoons and stuff, and like seriously, the lakes. That's where things are going to get interesting for sure, right?
Oh yeah.
We might see a travel ban from the city to the north. Who knows? It could happen, right? Who knows? Very interesting times, unprecedented.
That's the best word. This is, I mean, we use all these words, but I think this is really the best word to describe all this. It's unprecedented.
Absolutely.
Listen, I really respect your love for your mom, right? Like this, it's such a great story. Obviously people won't know, but I just want to share a little. I won't, get into details, right? Like for most of us, we always say that we want to do something for our parents to give them their dream home. And honestly, I really believe you've done that for your mother, right? So it's so amazing. Like, I mean, it's yeah. Like, no, I'm being honest. Like, most of you people won't ever get to see Carl's property, but it's like it would be modern day Little House on the Prairie. To be honest, Carl, that's what it is.
It's a little bit better than that now, Cuong.
I'm saying the house is better, man. I'm saying, but the idea of it's the same thing, buddy. God, you're not scooping poop all day. By the way, I love your dogs, even though they're the biggest crotch sniffers. All right, just so you know.
No, thanks.
So, what do you think of all the numbers that are popping up in the media, like especially with the people that contracted COVID-19 and the deaths? What do you think? Because the numbers have been all over the place, right? What do you think of that?
What do I think? I think that I have nothing really to say on that other than stay home. Like, I think we've touched on this seriously. Like, this is not a joke. It's today I was watching on the news and they were talking about someone out west as young as 20 years old just passed.
Oh wow, really?
Again.
Really, that's so young?
Yeah, I mean, this virus is like nothing we've ever seen. Like, it affects, so long as it's most of the individuals that are coming in, when they actually are struggling to breathe, they find that they have pneumonia in both lungs. Like, it's like
Oh,
that. It's crazy. And
that
so,
is
like,
a rough
even
thing,
if
though.
even if you believe that you are tough enough to get it, survive it, and it just be nothing worse than a really bad flu, who cares? It's who else that you come in contact with. That's the issue, and you could be responsible for the death of someone else's loved one. So, like, take the advice of the experts seriously, and stay home, wash your hands, and self distance. Simple as that.
So, what do you think the role of social media and the media in all of this?
Well, as long as they're not spreading propaganda, and you don't have individuals that are out there trying to sell elixirs and snake oils that will, like, be a miracle cure, I think that they're doing a great job. I think that, and our prime minister has been fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Every day at 11 a.m. he's on there, and he's giving us the updates that we need. And when you compare it to that travesty that's happening south of the border, it's this is a night and day situation right here, like, without a doubt. Leadership and a lack of leadership. Simple as that.
Justin Trudeau really gets ragged on a lot, and people really give it to this guy. But I mean, after this, pretty hard to say, guys. Pretty hard. Like, this is when we're talking about a moment in time, right? In history. So this is going to be definitely in the history books, right? The chips are down. And
for sure.
And this guy, this man has really, like, he stepped up. I mean, the chips can be more down than this. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, that's it. Incredible.
And it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse.
And moving forward, because as it gets worse, we're gonna need like this person to lead us through. And I, to be honest, as a Canadian, I feel very happy that we have him leading us.
Well, you know what? And on that note too, I just want to give a shout out and a plug for Simcoe County on that level as well. One of the great things that's happened up here in this area in the last decade is that as people have moved out of Toronto, sold their homes, and moved this way, many of the individuals that did so were also industrialists. They're entrepreneurs and very bright people, engineers, and etc. So there's been a lot of businesses that have grown here or have showed up, started up, and are thriving in Simcoe County. And as of late, I would say the bulk of them that were able to do so have converted their operating, like their production lines, to the purpose and cause of producing and mass manufacturing face shields and masks and ventilators and etc. And so you're seeing on a scale that's here that I just haven't seen anywhere else, and I'm very proud to be a part of this community and to see how people are coming together to help one another here in Canada. It's a really good thing to see.
Yeah,
it's also a plug. Move north.
I told you, when I'm old, I'll be up there, and after I play my session of poker at Casino Rama, I'll come by. Jesus, man, come on, it's gonna happen. Just a bit longer.
It's Barry's motto. Barry's motto: from deck to dock.
Once this goes white, all right, don't worry, buddy.
It's Barry's motto. Barry's motto is from desk to dock.
So,
keep that in mind.
So I was talking about social media earlier, right? Buddy, I have to say something. You've been showing off your culinary skills. So what's for dinner tonight?
Oh, yes, okay. I haven't actually gotten around to thinking about it just yet. It'll be something nice, I'm sure.
Okay. But by the way, so Carl, he's not a 14-year-old girl, right? So he hasn't been taking selfies of himself. He's been taking selfies of his artistry with his culinary skills. Is that correct?
I guess, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, as you know, right, sporting events have been canceled, so I'm heartbroken. I'm very angry every day because I haven't seen a single UFC event. How's it feel not to be able to watch your Canucks?
Well, it's been tough, but I think the thing that came as the biggest blow for us is the Ontario government. You'll laugh at this, but province-wide fire ban. Like, we live in a country. That's like caveman TV out there. What are we gonna do without that?
There's a fire ban outside on your
Yeah,
property.
yeah, province-wide
Why?
fire ban.
For
So,
what?
because they don't want people people to be careless and for fires to get away and then start
Oh,
spreading
okay.
fires and whatnot, and then they'll have to call away first responders from
Okay,
more
fair
important COVID.
Fair enough. I see it. It sucks, but I see the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, but we're moving into summer. What's a summer in the north without a campfire? Think about it. It's terrible, terrible.
I know in your case, it's like the harbinger of death is trying to create more COVID-19 in the fireplace. That's it. So
Sanitize it.
no. Yeah, we'll say that. So can you let the listeners know what you're up to or anything that you're involved with right now?
Not much actually. Just trying to take care of the property, and I think one of the things that we had discussed earlier, as far as tips go, I know that it's a struggle for you.
Yeah.
With the market being as it is, like how does how would a buyer get out to see a home and etc. So I'm sure you're doing a lot of that now online. That's transitioning.
Yeah.
One piece of advice to you, and it's one that always, in my experience, has led to great benefit, especially on the resale.
Yeah.
Sweat equity. Get out there, curb appeal, clean up your properties. It's spring. Get the rake out. Start planting flowers, that kind of stuff. Clean up those gardens.
Oh no more wood.
Look, hey man, you're you're at home. You have time on your hands. Pressure wash that house. Like, get those gutters clean, get it all nice and spiffy. Go inside, clean up the inside of your house, declutter, and trust me, the pictures look a lot better, and so does the feel. You'll come out on top that way.
I think this is a pattern. I bring on guests that like to. Last week I had one guest that was body shaming people. This week I have you house shaming people. Okay, well,
we've all seen those yards. We know who you are. Clean them up.
You're disgusting, buddy.
Clean them up.
Don't be that guy anymore, right? There's no excuse.
Take your Christmas lights down already.
Well, thank you for taking out time to talk to me. And I also want to thank the listeners. And if you have any questions, real estate related or even about life, email me at cuongrealtor@gmail.com. And I'll answer it next time. And also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Your Home Sold Guarantee, or I'll buy it, -Cuong, so you don't miss any episodes. All right. So see you next time, and bye, everyone. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks. Bye.